Okay, started. Hey, Alicia Asylum from Australia. I stopped the video at 14 minutes and 44 seconds, if you don't mind, because there was a lot there. One thing I want to show you is this, the documentary hypothesis. Well, basically, this page. This green, right here, over to here. Well, it comes down here, stops. This is the redactor, and then I get mixed up with left and right in these videos. And then over here, the green continues. In the earliest version, Abraham sacrificed his son. There was no God there to stay his hand. He killed his son in obedience to God. That's not the Christian God, though. This Old Testament that makes up, what, 66% of the Bible, or 75% of the Bible, or whatever it winds up being. Probably around 77%, maybe 72%. Is a history. It's to put the New Testament in context. Reading the Bible is probably the worst way to get to Christianity. And for the first 1500 years of Christianity, no matter where it was in the world, nobody went to the Bible to read it. And they certainly didn't read it in the form that we have it today in the King James layout, which has been copied in pretty much every English translation of the Bible. No, they didn't read it like that, and that's not a way to find out about Christianity in any form. Uh, I'm glad you made this video, and after hearing only 14 minutes and 44 seconds, I'm beginning to think that you're more orthodox than I am, and that I probably have more doubt in me than you do have in you. It's experiential. Understanding, you say, I know I want to understand it. Uh, Again, I refer back to, again, if you watch any of my videos on the Old Testament, or how we come to view it, we don't care about any God giving laws from Sinai. We don't care about any miracles that happened in the past. Um, there is no view of that. Well, there's a view, but it's more in parables and allegory. That's why we don't care about a literal atom. If you look at the video that I have up, which is actually a clone of Gambler's video about what is the Bible for. It's just a teaching tool. It's not there to tell you what's right and what's wrong. It's not there to tell you about whether homosexuality is right or wrong. It's not there to be a history book. It's not there to be a science book. It's only there to be a didactic tool for the Orthodox Church, a teaching tool to combat heresy, and that's what the New Testament is, which made up a fraction of this book. Uh, Something that is to be sung in liturgy, just like the Psalms. I mean, if you were to read a book of Psalms and try to come away with a vision of God, he would have wings and feet and eyes, and have a footstool, and the earth would be his footstool, and he'd be this magnificent giant like the Titans of old, which isn't the case, which was never the belief. It's all metaphor. Uh, Too many people take it as metaphor. It's only experiential. If you want to learn, I would say don't come to me. Go to All Saints Monastery and just listen to what Archbishop Lazar has to say. And he's out of not Cal, he's out of Canada. I don't know which city. Uh, Probably not a city, but he's near a mountain newly christened Mount St. Nicholas. All Saints Monastery of Canada. um, and he says it clearer than I ever could. But if you actually want to understand, in there is no intellectual understanding. It's going through the motions, and swapping religions out. Uh, People say this a lot, and I don't fault you for saying it either. But it was kind of like when the doctor puts glasses on you and flips the lenses out, which is clear, A or B, one or two. There's a clear understanding of it. And it wasn't until I actually listened and cheered for Christopher Hitchens and read the Satanic Bible and Satanic Rituals and the Devil's Notebook that it became clear to me I couldn't live my life in any other way but to be Orthodox. It was far too painful. And you looking at it from the context of history is absolutely correct. Why did this happen? How did this happen? Uh, there is no God in the sky. Uh, there is no particle that you can reduce it to that you'll find a God in there. Uh, it's a God that stands outside of time, outside of creation, yet the energies flow in. And either you're called or you're not. Uh, and if you're not, you never will be. If you are, you will be. That sounds cold and wicked. Uh, but I truly have the belief that everyone, that the spark is in everyone, even those who are labeled sociopathic and psychopathic, who they claim can't feel feelings. To me, there's choices, and you don't know why you're making the choice, and you don't know what consequence it will lead, which is probably the most honest choices you're given them in life, and to walk down through them. Knowing the Orthodox Church, there's a belief that most people will inherit uh, the kingdom of heaven, and uh, there's no imagining what it's like. There's no, I mean, that's why the essential question is, what am I being saved from, or what am I being saved to? And if the answer is a question mark, that's a very hard thing to say yes to. But if you're naturally compelled to that, you can do anything else. And when all the scientific answers fail, as they do, uh, but we never asked, someone like me, I have never asked for any of those scientific answers. I never, it's not after all those failed, it's something that I already knew, and new knowledge is a very bad word for it. There were people who tried to explain it like this, and they were called Gnostics, the same thing as knowledge, and they tried to separate it out and use very exact terms, and it fell apart, and they didn't survive. Uh, but in essence, it's the unexplained reaching down into creation. Are we biological machines that just became self-aware for nothing and will fall back into nothing? Which even in itself, that's a miracle. So even in the oblivion that comes, if that is to come, there is something majestic there. There is a proper way to uh, basically walk the thin line. If we aren't, then that's something different. But in practice, it winds up seemingly the same. I mean, if you eat an apple out of survival, or if you eat an apple out of joy, it winds up doing the same thing. Your questions, while still you claiming to be an atheist, what I hear is that you're pretty much almost more orthodox than me. You get it, You don't know that you get it. Like, and I know if I were standing on the outside, I'd say that's BS. What are you saying? You're oh, that's what I. That's the last stand of a defeated person. Oh, you already understand. But you don't. I mean, which is again in all the things with Bill Z Bob, he talked about morality, and I said, well, morality doesn't come from God, and he couldn't tolerate that. He says, no, it does come from man or God, and I said, well, it doesn't come from God. So we're self-aware, good from evil. So cosmologically, it can come from God. Well, no, it's shifting in society, and again, that wasn't good for him. I mean, he has to stick with the Western view of God. So reading the Bible would probably be the worst thing for you to do, because no one in the Orthodox Church ever sat down and read the Bible. Did it as a liturgical thing. We discover in the experience of the church, in the experience of time and history, we are not judged by Christ, even. We're judged by our own conscience. That a lot of these things that are black and white aren't black and white at all. That the Bible is the first collection of books when the earth was just starting to become illuminated. So why would you read those? You read those almost out of a historical context. But if you wanted to know, you would go 2,000 years after and see what they were saying now. Just like science, if you wanted to understand science, why would you look to around the time of Galileo and say, oh, that's science and we have to stick by this and this is hardcore science? Why wouldn't you go to the latest? Or would you go to a place that keeps knocking themselves back down to the very beginning of the Renaissance, which the Protestants always do? They always say, oh no, we have to go back to the beginning. We have to go back to the beginning. Well, wait, if the Holy Spirit played out over time, the clarity would be spelled out in time. So you go to the closest point to you. That's why you listen to the bishop. You don't go back to the Bible. The Bible is just the beginning. It's just the tradition of the beginning history of it all. Who damn cares whether Peter was written by Peter or Second Peter was? Nobody in the Orthodox Church cares. It's a teaching tool. But for those who believe that the Bible is the Word of God, that you must listen to this, it's an idol. It doesn't matter anymore because it's an idol. You might as well worship anything else that you want. You might as well go and worship science. You're going to use it as a baseball bat just like this. It doesn't matter. How you live, that's something different. There is more hope and love and beauty and godliness in the simple prayer of Saint Francis, who lived about 1,000 years after the schism, than there is in the entirety of this thing. I would urge you to go and listen to Archbishop Lazar. Now, I don't want this to run more than 14 minutes and 44 seconds over. But again, in many, how many times do I have to say it? And I don't mean any disrespect to you, but it's only experiential. Can you describe purple, green, and yellow to a blind man? He would see it as insanity. Love is relationship based. So if there's no calling, if God didn't call you to it, if no woman ever loved me for me to love her back, how would I know? I wouldn't. And we may sit back and say, well, I don't understand. Why does it love something and not another? Or why do we say it loves everything and not us? But then there's choice and decision, but then there's not. And there's predestination. And then these are all things that we can't see yet. But those who stand outside can see it all and know exactly what all those things mean, because words fail when you come into that which is ineffable, unimaginable. This is the way we describe God, only in apophatic terms, only in negative terms, except for one, when we say God is love. Because that word's mind up failing. There's no communication. I can't ever communicate it to you. I would urge you to listen to Archbishop Lazar at All Saints Monastery. And I've already gone over 14 minutes and 44 seconds, but I would urge you to do that. So that might be your best, quote unquote, understanding of where we're coming from. Beyond that, I can't say anything. I can't do anything. And as you know, the Orthodox Church is strictly against proselytizing, so I can't even proselytize to you. And I would be honored to Skype with you any day. Is it free? If it's free, I'll do it, because money always gets tight around the holidays. I've been working like crazy these last few days, and beginning to wear on me. But if it's something accessible or even cheap, I'd be willing to go to great lengths to even have somebody try to have some understanding of where we're coming from. If you don't find suitable answers, I'm not going to make any things up about it. I'm not going to slander you in any way. Again, the East is not the West. Peace to you, and I really hope this uploads, because I really meant everything in it.